Hi, my name is Gina Paulus, and I'm super excited to welcome you to the Homebodies Fitness Show. We have our guest today, Dominique. Dominique is going to show us a gymnastics-specific back pain prevention workout. This workout can actually be used by a variety of athletes, but for today we're going to focus on gymnastics because Dominique does adult gymnastics. Are you excited to learn these exercises today?
I am.
Have you ever had back pain as a gymnast?
Yes. I actually fractured my back as a gymnast, and so at practices, I would always have to modify my exercises and my skills. So,
yeah, that can be a frustrating situation. So the idea of preventing back pain can be really great. And by working on our core and our glutes, that's going to give you a much better chance to be able to enjoy your favorite sport pain-free. So let's get started with the first exercise. This one is super simple. What we're going to do is work on our breathing technique, which helps our back muscles stay relaxed. So all you need to do is place your hands on your rib cage. You want your index finger on the side, and I'll show you first, and then you can try it after me. So I'm going to place my thumb way in the back and my index finger on the side, and I'm going to try to take a breath while I am allowing my ribs to move. So I'm trying to feel for that movement. And it's called 360 breathing. So normally when we breathe, we can find that our air primarily moves out of our front ribs, okay? And we want to make sure that we can get out of the back as well. So go ahead and step on the mat and give that a try for me. First things first, we want to place the index finger right on the side. Right where the seam of your shirt is a great spot. And the thumbs go way in the back. Now I'm going to have you take a breath for me, Dominique.
From my nose or my mouth?
Either way,
Okay.
It's up to you. Good question. Are you feeling the sides and backs move?
Yeah.
How much?
Pretty much, yeah.
Cool. That's awesome. So if you feel movement there, you're good to go, and we can move on to the next exercise. If you're not, I recommend spending a little bit more time practicing that style of breathing. So you can imagine your rib cage is like an umbrella that's opening up. We want to have that opening up from all sides. So once we have the movement down in standing, we can go ahead and try it in the hands and knees position. So we're here. And then what my goal is here, I'm just holding my shirt up so that you guys can see my stomach. When I breathe in, I want to keep my stomach pretty braced and send the air to the sides and the backs. So I'm taking my breaths here. I'm thinking about keeping a long neck so that I'm not scrunching my shoulders way up by my ears. So Dominique, I'd like you to take 4 breaths just like that. And I'll be actually feeling for your rib movement, and I'll be able to tell how she's doing. So right in your hands and knees, you want to fill up the space in your lower back by pressing it to the ceiling. Not too much. We want to get to neutral. Perfect. Now go ahead and take your breath. Great. Oh, she's got great back expansion. Good. Now make sure that your belly stays tight too so that you're not letting air come out the front. Very good. Long neck, keeping that neck nice and relaxed. Perfect. So a lot of gymnasts will battle with shoulder pain too. And when they tend to do a lot of shoulders up by ears, that's actually going to accentuate shoulder pain that we can develop from tightness up there. That was awesome, Dominique. You can come on away from there.
Thank you.
Was that challenging for you or not too bad?
That wasn't too bad.
So you're doing awesome. So this is probably makes sense because her back has been feeling really well lately.
Yes.
So that really does make sense. But this is a great screen before we dive into some of the more difficult exercises. The next movement that we're going to try is called heel slides. For heel slides, you'll be on your back. What we're going to do is take that same breath in and out that we just practiced, and then thumb goes on ribs, index finger goes on hips. So we're breathing in, out, brace the abs. Then we're going to slide the heel and bring it back. And then the other. And what we're trying to do here is we're trying to make sure that there's no movement in the ribs or the pelvis. So this is staying completely still while you slide your heel.
Should our back be touching the floor?
That is a really good question. So it depends on how your spine is shaped. We all have slightly different shaped spines. So what I encourage you to do is brace your abs, see where your back lands, and wherever that lands, you want to keep it the same way when you do the slide.
Okay.
All right, so yep, you got it. Thumb and then index fingers are placed. You're feeling for those bones. We don't want to feel those move just when you're going to do the slide. So a breath in and out for me. Perfect. Brace your abs as if someone were going to punch you in the belly and you didn't want it to hurt. Awesome. Now slide a heel, keeping your breath held there. Perfect. And back. Good. And you have the choice of either sliding on the floor or lifting it slightly like Dominique is doing. Obviously the yoga mat's a little sticky. It can be hard to slide. Perfect. And then anytime you need another breath, you can go ahead and take another breath, reset. That's option 1. Option 2 would be to take small sips of air and maintain your brace. Option 2 is a little bit more advanced. So that's a good idea to do if you find taking the breath each and every time isn't really necessary for you to be able to maintain your great brace. Let's do one more on each side, Dom. Are you feeling movement in those ribs?
Yes.
Can you think of something to do to help stop that movement?
Tighter abs.
Yeah, tighter abs. So really emphasizing the brace. This exercise is all about the brace, not as much about sliding your heels. You can take a break. That was plenty. So the other thing about this too is the more slides you'll do, the muscles will start fatiguing. That's great if you're working in endurance, but if you're still trying to get this nailed down, you don't want to take too many reps because as we know, the more we do, the more fatigued we get. So I would say stick with 5-ish. You know, don't do 100 of them because that's just going to reinforce a bad habit that won't be helpful for helping our body learn the correct pattern.
5 each leg.
5 each leg would be awesome.
Cool.
Yeah. All right, so the next exercise we're going to work on is called hip thrusts. There's a couple of ways to do this. We can do this with our back against the couch, or we can do it right on the floor. So for this demonstration, we're actually going to try this table. It's not as comfy to use the table, but I do like having our back elevated. So we're going to give it a shot and see how it works. The foam roller is helpful to have. You can also use a yoga block if you don't have a foam roller. Either or is actually fine. So right here, I've got my shoulder blades against the edge. And what I'm going to do is dip my hips down and then lift. Now I want to be careful not to lift too high because when I lift too high, I'm actually going to be arching my back. And so I'm just lifting up and down this way. And I'm feeling my glutes and my hamstrings. I'm trying to tell myself not to use this part as much because when our hamstrings and our glutes are actually stronger than our front of our leg or our quad, it is very helpful to keep our back muscles more relaxed. So I'm going to let you try that. I am going to hold this a bit because it's a little slippery. Okay. So you're going to take this and you can go ahead and put your shoulder blades here. It's a little on the sharper side, so be careful. But she's going to squeeze that roller and then she's going to lift her hips up and down. And you'll see her head is looking toward her knees. That's perfect. That's a great angle of head position. Let's just do 5 of these. And you want to think about getting your butt muscles and your back of your thigh to work really hard and try to tell the front of your thigh to take a little bit of a vacation. How are you doing with that?
Good.
You feel it? Perfect.
Yeah.
All right, you can come on up from there. So as I said, the couch is a great spot to do it from. If you're in the gymnastics club, you can use a nice soft mat. If you do have something like this, a sweatshirt can be helpful. And then if we get more used to the movement, we can actually add a weight against the hips. And that's going to give you an awesome additional training effect for that. So we are going to go ahead with the serratus press on the hands and knees. So we had just done the hands and knees earlier, and it looks like this. Now, the serratus is a muscle that runs underneath our armpit, and it is the way that our upper body is connected with our core. So naturally, having that muscle really strong is super helpful for getting our core on board. So here we are. It looks really easy, but I'll tell you, it's easy to mess up too. So you want to be thoughtful of how you're doing this. So we want to sink down through our shoulders, and then we want to push our body up. And the idea here is to be tracing a vertical line with your forehead and feeling the armpit and underneath it doing the work. All right, so I'm going to have you set up there. She's braced. You want to make sure you do that abdominal brace each and every time you set up in hands and knees. Okay, and then let's actually soften the elbows a bit, Dominique. Let's not quite as locked out straight. Perfect. Good. And sinking Awesome. And what we're looking for here is right in between those shoulder blades. We want to see that area collapse, and then we want to see that press. Now, if somebody's able to do it well here, I'm actually going to have you, Dominique, go into a knees plank. So a plank more like this, and we're going to try this kind with you. Okay? There you go. So that's going to obviously give more weight into the muscle group, but you have to make sure you're good with hands and knees first. So she's going to do a couple there, and let's even have you do a couple in a full push-up and see how you look that way. So right on the tips of your toes. And so you would want to progress just like we're doing here and checking each and every position. Watch for her body to stay nice and straight. This is a plank, a moving plank. Awesome job. You're really strong. That's great. Perfect. One more, Dominique. That's amazing. So if you think about a sport like gymnastics, we're asking our body to support ourselves on our arms, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's a lot of force. So a gymnast, yes, they should probably be able to progress to that full plank. But on the other hand, you've got to start where your body is. So if you're struggling to do it well on hands and knees, start there. That's totally fine. So there's actually another cool version of that movement that we can try. And this one is great if you're in a more rehabilitation stage and you're having more problems with your shoulders. So what you want to do is put a resistance band underneath a roller, and you will be on your back. The reason I like this one is it gives your shoulder blades room to move against the roller, and it gives you some good feedback. You're doing the same motion. We're just flipped onto our back and using a band. So just like that. So I'll let you give that one a shot, Dom. This one can also be great for male gymnasts because they're dealing with using the rings, and the rings are unstable, which the band is going to simulate that a little bit more than if you had your hands on the floor. So you want to stretch, 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 and then let those shoulder blades sink. When you reach, Dominique, try reaching above your eyes. Yeah, and then when you come down, you can be forward a bit, and then reaching above your eyes. Perfect. That's amazing. Her shoulders look really great. Very good. Let's do 2 more of those. And this one doesn't have any special breathing with it, so sometimes it's nice to have one that you don't have to worry as much about holding your brace because the roller is supporting you there. So it can be nice to just isolate out that movement. How did that feel?
That felt good.
Did you like it?
Yes, I felt my shoulders pressing against the roller.
Yeah, the roller is awesome to give us that feedback, especially when we don't have a coach or a trainer working with us at that moment. So next we are going to move into some more active exercises, ones that are more closely simulating our skills. So squatting is a great basic exercise. A lot of people really can screw it up. So for a squat, it's great to place one hand in front of your back and the other in front of your abs. And then as you're doing your squat, you want to feel that your hands are staying neutral so that you're not really getting your belly moving forward and you're not rounding your back when you do your squat, but rather you're keeping everything the same in your core as you bend your legs. So we'll start by checking Dominique's squat, and if she looks good, we'll go ahead and add a weight for her. So one, yep, exactly, just sandwiching there, perfect. Now go ahead and show us a squat. Great, yep. Nice work. You could be a little bit more pitched forward with your shoulders so that you don't arch your back when you bend your legs. Yeah, that was better. So using our hands as feedback is really useful to tell if our core is staying neutral. Now, when you go to stick a landing, this is exactly what you're doing, right? So it's good to practice that great form. She looks really good, so we'll go ahead and give her a weight. And you can just hold it. I'll actually show you how to hold it. We'll hold it right here in the middle. There's different ways to do the holding of the weight, but I think for starters, it's great to just let it hang down. So in your brain, you have to think about your hands being on those low back and stomach. Keep that nice and neutral. Awesome job. The other thing I want to be careful of on a squat is a lot of people will bend down and then they'll kind of shove their hips forward. Not helpful for hip health. A lot of gymnasts will struggle with torn labrums or painful hips. So you want to stretch up tall, but you don't necessarily want to shove any hips forward. She's doing awesome. Let's do 2 more, Dominique. That's great. So by adding a weight, what we're going to achieve is we're loading our body, getting it a little bit more, replicating the forces you're going to take when you go to do a landing, right? Yeah. So we don't want to ask our body to do something that it hasn't really practiced in terms of how challenging the exercise is. So that's awesome. I'll take that back from you.
Thank you.
So the next one is going to be a deadlift. Deadlifts are really great. They're similar to squats. They don't technically have an exact replica for the sport of gymnastics. However, they're really, really great at strengthening the back of our legs and our back. And those are great muscles to help keep our pelvis in a neutral alignment because gymnastics is a very quad dominant sport. We use the front of our legs over and over and over. So to create balance in the body, it's great to help work the back of our legs. So for deadlifting, we can start with the weight for her because I know she's able to keep her core neutral. Knees are slightly bent. She's going to bend down and come up. How far you bend is individual. If you're super, super flexible, you might want to touch the weight to the floor or be able to do that, but you never want to touch the weight to the floor if it's going to cause you to have to round your back. So we want to keep our back neutral during these movements. You'll notice my knees never lock out. That will be something that will be hard for gymnasts because they're used to locking their legs straight on everything. So make sure you remember that. I'll give you this.
You want my legs like apart from my shoulders or?
Yeah,
right
that is a good question. A little bit wider than shoulders is perfect.
Okay.
That looks good. You can take that. Okay. Knees are slightly bent to start. She's keeping her neutral core. Awesome. Think about the weight as landing right between your feet when you bend down. Yeah, so not in front so much, a little bit more straight down. Yes. And how you're doing that is you're sticking your butt backwards. Yes. So we call this a hip hinge. It is applicable when you jump. If you think about if she were to jump right here, it's in slow motion, obviously, but that action of bending your legs and thrusting your hips forward just a little bit, and that is really helpful for our sport. But really the main reason I want to do this movement is it helps fortify and strengthen the body so that the back of our body is just as strong as the front. She's doing an amazing job keeping her core still, which is awesome. You can do one more. Nice job. Cool, I'll take that back. So if somebody has trouble keeping their back flat, I would encourage them to go back to the sandwich technique. And then if they bend down, they say, oh no, I've rounded, I've lost it. Then they can self-correct. And you don't give anybody a weight until they really have that. Dominique has been forced to practice some of these better forms because she has suffered from some back problems. And she had to learn the hard way. But now that she's a coach too, hopefully her little gymnast won't have as many problems as she had to go through. Yeah. But you know, we all live and learn and get better with time. So we are going to go ahead into more of some upper body work next. This is going to be a row on the bar. So we've got my parallel here. So what you'll do for this exercise is you are going to lie on your back and then palms will be facing forward for this. The first step is to lift your hips off the ground and then we're going to draw the shoulder blades close together and then lower. Now this bar is not weighted down, so it can be a little bit tricky. So we want to be careful and take our time with that. But you can give that a shot. And what this does is it helps the back of our body develop just as much strength as the front. Just like I was talking about with the deadlifts, the front of our body as gymnasts gets really strong. The back sometimes can't keep up. I'll just go ahead and step on that for you so it stays perfect. Think about your shoulder blades drawing apart and moving back together. Yes, we don't want to just do this with our arms. We want to use our back for this. Good job, Dominique. Perfect. You don't have to touch your chest. If you're really flexible, that's fine. But what you want to watch for is take a look at her shoulder. You don't want that shoulder to pop forward as she does her row. So think about broad chest, opening those shoulders. Perfect. Let's do two more, Dom. Great. You see her neck position. She's looking at her knees. You don't want to let your head hang down. That will cause some neck strain. How did you do with that one?
I did well.
Was it more tiring?
Yeah.
A little bit, yeah. So in gymnastics, a lot of times they'll ask us to do a lot of chin-ups, which is great. But you have to think about it this way. If we only do things over our head and we don't do anything in front, that isn't creating a well-rounded athlete. So including some of these, what we call horizontal pulls, meaning that your body is flat versus upright, it does help create better balance in our body. So it's great to throw these into conditioning. Yes. That's a great spot to do it. Or while kids are waiting in line or adults are waiting in line, whoever's doing the gymnastics, it can be a great thing to do as a side station type activity. as well. So we are going to wind this down a bit by working on some mobility. And it's really nice at the end of a practice to, or even a workout for that matter, to take some time to allow our system to down-regulate, because it's very intense when we're doing all of our training. But you want to leave the practice feeling a little bit more relaxed so that you can let your body begin to recover. So this is a great movement to help with, especially gymnasts who have back pain or have trouble going overhead with their arms straight and their shoulders open all the way on things like back handsprings. So what we want to do here is form a Y with our arms, and you'll see my thumbs are facing the ground. So I'm going to take a breath in, out, brace my abs, press into my roller and stretch long. And I'm really going to think about stretching long through my pinkies. Then I'm going to breathe in again and out and try to stretch even longer. So each and every breath we take, we are trying to make our arms that much longer each time. All right, so you can go ahead and lie down and give that one a shot.
Should our back touch the floor?
That one is the same as the other time you asked that, is that we want the back to be your normal, right? Okay. So for you, does your back touch the floor when you lie down like that?
I mean, sometimes I have to force myself. But...
Yes, so I don't want you to force. Okay. So before we get started, let's make sure. So go ahead and put your arms in the Y. And yeah, you want your wrists on the edge. Perfect. Great. Now, if you do one breath in and out and you brace your abs, tell me if your back is touching.
It's touching a little.
Okay. So I'm actually going to slide my hands under and check. Yeah, I can feel that. So she has a relatively flatter spine. Totally normal, not a problem. We want to make sure that we are gauging it by our personal back shape and not trying to do touching or not touching just because the next person does that. Mm-hmm. So it is individual. All of our bodies are shaped a little bit differently. So what you want to do is keep your back just like that as you go ahead and do the exercise. So take a breath for me in and out. Good. Now stretch long. Good. And thinking of stretching extra, extra long through your pinkies. Perfect. Hold that. Another breath in and out. Good. And stretch even longer. So the goal here would be eventually to do between 6 and 8 of them, each time stretching longer and longer. I'm going to have you try to put your legs out straight, Dominique. Right on the floor, actually. Like you're taking a nap. There you go. She's trying to make it more complicated, of course. So tell me if this one feels better or if it feels better to stretch you with the legs bent.
I definitely feel more of a stretch.
Cool. So when you lie like that, I am going to encourage you to not do the gymnast thing and actually relax your legs, but just have them out straight. And the reason is your back's going to stretch better when you don't hold tension by pointing. So just stretched out, no crazy, pointed toes, anything like that. Just nice and relaxed. Let's do 2 more breaths. Good. This is a great one to do at the end of practice, especially after doing some bars or some conditioning when your arms are a little bit more tired. Cool. How'd that feel?
Felt good.
Relaxing?
Very relaxing.
Awesome. All right, so we're going to finish up by stretching the hip as well. And this one is a fun one, and we'll actually use Dominique as a test for this. Some people respond great to it, others not so much. So I'll actually test mine first. So I'm pushing my hip forward, gentle, just seeing where my end range is and seeing where I start feeling that stretch. Now, what I'm going to do is make a wrist circle. You'll see that my left hand, my fingers are pointing to the left. I'm on my right knee forward here. And then I'm going to draw slow, big circles. And I'm going to do about 5 of them. Okay, and then I'm going to see if my hip stretches better, and it does. So that's a positive test. That means this exercise is helpful for me. And then that's actually a cool way to help use our upper body and some of the tension in our fascial system. Our fascial system stretches from head to toe. When we use our hands, we can actually influence the flexibility of our hips, which can be a great thing to do before you're working splits or just at the end of practice. So Dominique, go ahead and go in front and you can give that a shot. So you can start with the right leg forward just like I had. Perfect. And then you want to think about dropping your right hip down into a jeans pocket. Hold on for just a sec. I'm going to have you come back out of that because I want to make sure your setup is what I want. So here she has, it's not too bad, but her right hip is a little bit high. So Dominique, think about sitting into a pocket on your right pant. Yes, so that's what you want to do before you get started to make sure your hips are even. Perfect. Now go ahead and give it a test. Show us how your hip range looks. Awesome. Come back out of it. You can take your left hand, point your fingers to the outside, flex them back as far as you can. Whoop. Okay. Now we're going to draw a big circle, maybe a foot or two in diameter. Awesome. So we'll do one direction. This is counterclockwise. Cool. And now we'll do the other way. Continue to pull those fingers back to your forearm as much as you can. Good. All right, let's test it out and see how you did. Okay, so sometimes the person goes further. Other times they just feel more loose. Sometimes there's no change. Did you feel anything?
I felt like I went a lot further this time.
It looks further.
Yeah.
Let's try the other side. This can be another great thing to throw into your warm-up before you've started your skills for the day. Yep, sitting down into that hip. Amazing, good. And now we'll try the other hand. So the right hand, fingers back. Let's try to get you way back there as best as you can. Great. And a lot of gymnasts do have tighter wrists and forearms, so do your best. You can only do what you can do, but this is really nice for helping stretch out that whole system of fascia and get our body ready to go. Great work. You can go the other way. And slow is great for these. Rushing does not give the results that we would want. About 5 circles each direction is perfect. All right, let's retest. Yeah, look at you. Wow, that's cool.
Cool.
Do you think you might show that one to your girls
Yeah.
this week? That's a fun one.
Yes.
Awesome. Great job.
Thank you.
Well, that is all we have for today. This is your gymnast and back pain workout. Can be used for other athletes as well. Thank you for coming and volunteering to learn all these fun moves.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's been awesome to have you, and you did a great job on everything.
Thank you.
So thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you next time.